love what mom cooked, but like it's free, so it's great. Um,
Katie, will she be listening to this podcast?
Yeah, we may have to edit that out.
she will not. No, she will not. And then
Hello there. My name is Cameron Geddes. I decided recently that it would be fun to put together a podcast with some friends of mine to really gather some of their life experience and their experience being young adults in this very rapidly changing world. So today is the first episode of that podcast, giving you a little sneak peek of what's to come. Today I am joined by three of my very close friends. Katherine Trost, if you want to wave, Katie. Katherine Childs from Rockford, and Graeme Nesbit, also from Rockford.
That's right. For those of you listening to us on audio devices, just imagine the sound of that wave, because I am waving
Exactly.
right now.
That's a good point. We are recording the audio and video from this, but feel free to listen to it, I guess, in either format. So first off, a little bit about me. I'm host number one, along with Graeme Nesbit, host number two. I graduated in 2021 from Hope College with double majors in economics and global studies. Currently, I'm employed with Circana as a data analyst. I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I enjoy weightlifting and playing video games. We're joined by Katherine Trost.
I'm Katherine Trost. I graduated from Hope College in 2022 with a major in business and a minor in classical studies, Latin translation. And I'm from Grosse Pointe Park, Michigan area, right outside Detroit. Right now, I currently work doing financial data management and analytics for a church, with the interest and hope of pursuing a more e-marketing based career around target acquisition and retention. And in my free time, I like to do model painting, mostly of people's pets, and film reviews.
Very nice. Thanks for coming, Katie. Time for other Katie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie. Also, my full name is Kathryn Childs, and I went to two different colleges. I went to St. Olaf College in Minnesota, as well as I got my degree at University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, and my degree is in English creative writing. Currently, I am an editorial assistant at a dairy magazine in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, as well as a freelance writer for Northwest Quarterly, which is a Northern Illinois, Southern Wisconsin arts and event type of magazine. I also write short stories and poetry, and when I'm not reading or writing, I really enjoy making music, shooting hoops, hiking, being outside, things like that. And happy to be here with my very great friends.
Thanks, Katie. And then let's hear from Graeme.
Hello, everyone. I'm Graeme Nesbit. I graduated from Wheaton College in Wheaton, Illinois in the year 2021. I currently work as a substance abuse counselor in the Rockford region. And in my free time, I enjoy YouTube streaming, content creation, and learning languages on Duolingo.
And without too much further ado, we'll jump into our first question, our first topic, which is an undergrad degree still worth it? And some background on this question is this is coming from Forbes. A new analysis of the cost and benefits of attending college demonstrates that a college degree is still an excellent financial investment. The study was conducted by 3 economists associated with the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. However, the author of this article also notes that the authors first looked at the average annual cost of attending college in 1980, 2000, and 2020. After adjusting for inflation, they determined that in terms of $1980, attending college cost more than twice as much in 2020, which is about $8,798 per year, as it did in 1980, which was about $3,500. So with that in mind, we can see that the cost of college explicitly is going up, but a lot of economists still feel that there is good return on investment. But I'd love to get your thoughts too, outside of just like the monetary cost, in terms of, time and your energy. Is it really worth it to go the undergrad route? And I'll actually have Graeme, if you want to kick us off talking about this.
Yeah, well, once again, everyone, I am host 2, otherwise known as Graeme, and I'll give a few of my thoughts on that subject. Is undergrad still worth the cost? Not just financial cost, but is it worth time? Is it worth the effort? What I'd say is it is worth the cost if you can, make use of your degree. If you're able to, find employment, be able to do something that you go into college, then yes, it can be worth it. One factor just on the financial side of things, certainly to be aware of, the cost of college has gone up tremendously. It is not the same cost as our parents and our grandparents have gone to college. For some people, actually, quite a lot of people, and this is something that had kind of come up in recent politics, was student loan forgiveness. There is a rising amount of debt associated with graduates, people going through college, which can certainly put a burden on following graduation. So if it is something that you're able to follow through with on going to college, if you're able to complete it, get your degree, then I think it is a viable option. If it's something where you might make it a year, 2 years, 3 years, but you don't actually end up getting that degree, in that instance, you've racked up a lot of debt, and not something aside from the experiences that you do get the experiences, but not the degree itself, which can definitely hinder yourself there. So
Yep.
if you do decide to go to college, stick with it, go through it, get that degree, get working.
He's got a point that he does. I'll follow up with just a few words on this. I think the return on investment is still pretty clear. That I don't know, like as a whole, undergrad is going to give you easier ramp towards what you're aspiring to do. But I would say your mileage can really vary. I know, for instance, now there's a big shift going on in the labor force, as pertaining to tech jobs, financial jobs, a lot of even STEM fields that previously were considered ironclad. I know, for example, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, there was sort of a phrase going around on forums and stuff of like learn to code, basically as like throwing shade at people who chose not to take a technical route of working with computers. And now the inverse is sort of happening, where you have a lot of tech people who are struggling to find jobs right now, and there's kind of a glut that's being worked through in the labor force of overhiring as far as tech jobs goes. And the inverse has been said of like, oh, learn to weld, or like learn to solder, like learn to work in construction, sort of inverting that psychology. And I think that's a good indicator that while college on the whole is still worth it, you can expect a lot of volatility right now from sector to sector. And I feel like a lot of times candidates have to work extra hard or really put in a lot of self-driven work to actually get a job offer or maintain that momentum coming off of their undergrad degree. So yeah, I think that shifted quite a fair amount. Katie Trost, do you want to follow up with anything on undergrad?
As you know, as Graeme pointed out in the beginning, I mean, yes, college is enormously more expensive than it was for previous generations. And with that in mind, I think it is incredibly important that if you want to major in something you love, but aren't necessarily sure of, the financial yields, get a double major, or get a major in something that aligns with something you're interested in, and maybe build off experiences and internships that you understand the hobby or the industry. And so there's a comfortability because you understand that industry and learning new skills, because there's not the worry of I don't know the industry. So for instance, I had 2 internships with a theater company, and, loved theater growing up and so forth. Couldn't act to save my life, but hey, it's fun. And I did their entire e-marketing campaign. And so I went in there not really knowing much other than what I learned in my business major. And it was an incredible experience. And now having those skills under my belt of better understanding email marketing for Constant Contact, MailChimp, understanding Google Analytics, I'm now able to bring those skills to other industries where I may not have a previous knowledge of the industry. And so there's a comfortability there. So I think the big thing is grabbing your transferable skills. If you want to major in English or major in, something that may not necessarily align with business, that can still be used. there's always a need
Yeah.
for great writers, especially with website content. Just make sure that you're transferable between different industries and show a will to learn and to take the initiative. Companies are always looking for people to take initiative and build things on their own. So don't be afraid to go and say, "Oh, I really like this hobby. What if I made a blog about it?" Nothing may come of it, but you've learned more about a target audience, and that's useful. You've now learned how to analyze, and I think that will always pay off in terms of better analyzing how you study.
Yeah.
Katie, I really like your point on those transferable skills, and especially the double major, making yourself more marketable. If you're going to be there for however long for undergrad, getting as much as you can out of it to take with you. I think that's an excellent point.
Yeah, it's a good point. Anything from Katie number 2?
Yeah, sure. In thinking about this, I thought of my own experience with university, and I definitely think college is very worth it if you go into it intentionally and with a view of how it will fulfill your personal goals. And I say that because the first time I went to school, I didn't love it. I wasn't very happy. And that's basically because I felt like I had to go, but I had no idea what I was going to do. And so I was kind of just like going through the motions, and I didn't like my classes because I didn't have any purpose behind them. I didn't like know why I was there. And then the second time I went to school, so I took some time off, worked and traveled and all that, and then went back to school, having found out exactly what I wanted to do, which was study writing and editing and pursue that route. And so the second time I went back to school, I mean, I loved going to class. I loved being in school. I didn't want to leave. It was just such a more rewarding and fulfilling experience because I had that vision in mind. Like, this is the money I'm spending, but this is what it's going toward. Like, I'm not just putting this money into an experience that I don't even know how it's going to serve me or if it's going to serve me. Like, I knew I'm studying writing. I'm going to be a writer. Like, this money is going towards that. Whereas the first time I went to school, I was just throwing money at a degree I didn't even really want. So I definitely really believe that like college is it's more rewarding for you personally and for your monetary investment if you know why you're going. And I'm a huge advocate for taking time off. I took time off. Huge advocate for that if you need it. So that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Katie Childs has an excellent point right there as well. I think money is on a lot of people's minds going to college, but other factors to consider: enjoyment of life, pursuit of your passions, making a difference in the world.
Exactly.
Getting a college degree can definitely open up a lot of doorways and pathways that may not otherwise be accessible, and sometimes it's worth it going through it just to have that opportunity in itself on top of the knowledge and experience that you get.
Yeah, Graeme brings up a good point. Definitely have to apply yourself and do what you're going to get good benefit from, and make sure that you're applying on top of just learning. Speaking on top of that, actually, we're going to move to question 2, which is how should you manage burnout? And I've got another stat here. This is coming from CNBC. Burnout from workplace stress is at an all-time high according to since spring 2021, according to new research from Future Forum. The 42%, this is 42%, marks a new record since Future Forum began measuring work burnout in May 2021. At that time, 38% of workers reported burnout. And then elsewhere in the article, it says that the World Health Organization defines burnout as an increased mental distance from one's job, feelings of energy depletion, and negativism. 2 types of people, however, are at greater risk of burning out than everyone else: women and workers under 30. Nearly half of 18 to 29-year-olds said they feel drained, compared with 40% of their peers aged 30 and up, while women, 46% reporting burnout, reported higher levels of burnout than men, who reported 37%. So obviously, like, burnout and stress from job is on the rise. I think everyone is sort of feeling the pressure of kind of a stretched global economy and some of the turbulations going through right now in the workplace as a whole. I'd like to see if Katie Childs would like to start by discussing how should someone manage burnout, or maybe some of the strategies that she's used in the past?
Yeah, this is a pretty difficult topic. Graham and I were just talking about this the other day, and I truly still struggle with burnout. So these stats are all very interesting to me, and I'm definitely not an expert on this by any means, except for, I mean, unless you consider experiencing it all the time to be expert in it, which I definitely do. But gosh, I'm trying to think. I know in school, I got burnt out very easily because I bit off more than I could chew, like all the time. It was just my nature to kind of go all in every capacity. So I was in extracurriculars. I was in a lot of credits. I was in choirs. I was working, and I think we're all pretty ambitious people. And I think if you're ambitious, it's hard to like kind of temper your involvement in things because you just get excited and you get, you're driven and you want to be involved. And that's also part of what brings someone to college too. And then that's not a bad thing. But in terms of school in particular, I do think like being aware of, had I been more aware of the time and energy I was spending on these various things and pulling back when I needed to, if I had done that, I could have avoided some burnout scenarios. And it's hard for me to say no to things. So I've learned to do that more. Like if I want to do something, but I know it's not going to fit in my schedule, I'll just say no, which seems super simple, but for, ambitious personality types, it's very difficult to do that.
Real quick, just to follow up on you, Katie, on that. Great point with the, being able to say no to things. What that is, establishing healthy boundaries for yourself, giving yourself time to recharge. We only have 24 hours in a day. A good deal of that is spent sleeping and resting. So being able to manage your time is a great takeaway from that.
I'll make a little jab at Graham, who sleeps like 5 hours a night. So Graham's
No,
disqualified from talking about. Oh, has he?
I'm not myself 10 years
He
ago.
only streams an hour and a half instead of 3 hours now.
He's avoiding that stream burnout. And
I
actually,
haven't slept in days. It's my 7th cup of Joe.
I believe it. Let's have Katie Trost follow up. She's been.
Oh, you're just gonna cut me? Okay.
We'll come back to you, Katie Trost. I want to hear what she's got to say.
I personally have had a lot of experience with personal burnout as well as work burnout. I had the worst burnout I think I have ever experienced when I graduated college. I worked with the theater company again that I interned with that summer after I graduated, and that went all fine. But when I came home and I was still continuing the job search, I just absolutely hit a wall where it would be hard to care. And I would say it was similar to like some of the symptoms that aligned with depression. And there's still times where I think I slip into that route because of I take on too much responsibility, because of I set expectations for myself that no one should be setting expectations of that level for. I am my own worst critic. So something everyone else goes, oh, that went well, I'm thinking of the 50 things they didn't see that went wrong, but I didn't show went wrong, in terms of like you're putting an event together for friends and something burned in the oven and you're like, they don't see that because that's in the trash, but I'm going to be thinking about the rest of the night.
Katie, I got some experience with Katie burning things in the oven.
You can attest my cooking. It's gotten better, Cameron.
It has. Well, let me ask you then. So what are some of the healthy ways that you would say to manage that you've maybe learned post-graduation?
It is not selfish to prioritize your hobbies. And what I mean by that is, I grew up in a family that is very much, there was a sense of if you're not being productive, not that anyone said this, but our whole family's like this. If you aren't being productive, there was this weird sense of you're not worthy. Not that my parents made me feel that way or anything. And so being able to take a step back and say, if I can choose to be productive in something that is not work related, that is not health related, and that can still be healthy for me. For instance, that's why I do model painting. I do sell the models because I ship them, but I'm not doing it to make money. I do it because I'm painting someone's pet and it makes them happy. And it makes me happy that I sit down and I can spend all this intricate detail on copying this animal. And in a way, that is a great way to pull me out of dissociation. It's a great way to recharge me because it's focusing in a different way that to me, what I would say is it takes that nervous energy and it kind of recycles it into something new. And I think that at the end of the day is incredibly healthy. Whether it's you like to build Legos, or paint or draw or watch movies, whatever it is, prioritize that at the end of the day. I mean, yes, there will be chores, but you can watch an episode of TV and pause it to go change laundry. I don't like pausing it at great parts, but being able to really sit down and say it is okay. I don't need to validate this to anyone, and this will be better for me. Are huge things I think everyone should take away.
Yeah, no, I think Katie's totally right there. Is it being able to make time for the other elements of your life and having enriching hobbies and kind of channeling your energy and your focus into that, especially when you're being burned out in the different areas. A good way to handle it. It's definitely not selfish in any way. Graeme, I did cut you off a little bit earlier, so we'll jump back to you.
Follow up on Katie T's, her statement right there. Yeah, I like, a human has many needs. We're not machines, and I think I also feel like a great need to be productive and stay accomplishing things. And I think a healthy way of looking at that is taking time to do hobbies or things you enjoy actually increases productivity. You can both enjoy things in life. That's going to give you the energy to avoid burnout and keep on going. And remembering what I was going to say, focusing on just one, max two things at a time. There's been studies where you might be able to do different tasks, multitasking, but it's greatly going to decrease the efficiency doing that. You're not going to be able to do it as well. And you actually might be able to do it slower. So having a clear workspace, a clear time in your schedule, and even just scheduling out, is there a time for doing dishes? Just do dishes. You can listen to music or something while you're doing that, but don't try and, do dishes and write your master's thesis and cook something and, get some jumping jacks in at the same time, because that's going to drain your mental health and your brain energy and productivity faster than anything else. So pick one, max two things at a time and just really thoroughly get them done. Be present in the moment. Don't stress, get it done, and then move on to the next thing, and you'll start finding some more peace in your life, avoiding burnout.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cameron, can I add something to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that reminds me of this book that I read recently, Johann Hari, I believe. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation, but it's called Stolen Focus, and it's all about how the more we progress into the prevalence of technology in our day-to-day, minute lives, the less we are able to think deeply and focus on tasks at hand. And so he does talk about multitasking as one of those pieces, but it's really just a book about challenging people to spend less time with screens. And I know that's a really annoying thing to tell people, especially in our current age, but there really is a scientific background to that of how social media and screen time, particularly in short bursts with short videos and short interactions like that, as opposed to long like one movie where you sit down for 2.5 hours and you watch one movie. That's different screen time than if you're sitting scrolling through Instagram or something, So there is a lot of evidence that does say that focus in that sense is dwindling and it's shrinking in our brains. And that does contribute to burnout, because the more we feel like we can't focus on what we're doing, and the more we feel like we don't have the energy or the capacity to finish something or work on it for an extended amount of time to get it done, the more stress we feel and the more incapable we feel of doing things. And so at least in my life, I've made a very strong effort to just limit my screen time unless I'm sitting down for 2 hours to watch a movie or something.
Yeah.
Word.
Go ahead. I'm gonna move us on to the next question, Graeme.
There's a word for that, and it is known as doom scrolling.
Yeah.
In the cycle of swiping.
Yeah. And we're gonna move on to the next topic pretty quick, but I'll just go into that too. I think part of managing burnout is also to make sure that you're doing your best to prevent it from building up. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I think when it comes to particularly burnout that's work related. Everyone's circumstances are different, so just keep that in mind. But I think in general, it tends to be the tasks which you don't find meaning in, or you're not learning or growing or innovating in any ways, that I feel like those are the ones that tend to drive your burnout up. If you're working on something new and novel, or you have a new task, or if you're taking on new and greater responsibilities, that you personally have picked for yourself, or you have asked to take on, I think probabilistically you would find that you're able to endure longer in those things and get greater satisfaction. I think the principal cause of burnout is not necessarily work. I think work in itself can be a very enriching and meaningful thing. It's particularly work that is not allowing you to reach your potential, or is sort of causing you to stagnate. Like there's always going to be tasks that you don't want to do, that you sort of have to just get out of the way. But I think always making an extra push to take on things that you enjoy or enhance your capabilities as a person is going to give you a lot more stamina than sort of just going through the motions. But getting into our last question here, this is one that I think we're all going to draw some personal experience from as young adults, is unexpected pros and cons of living with your parents. So here's another stat for you. This is according to Pew Research. In July, 52% of young adults resided with one or both of their parents, up from 47% in February. And you know what? Let me actually check when this was published, because that might be a little outdated. But according to Pew Research Center analysis of monthly Census Bureau data, the number living with parents grew to 26.6 million, which is an increase of 2.6 million from February. The number and share of young adults living with their parents grew across the board for all major racial and ethnic groups, men and women, metropolitan and rural residents, as well as in all four main census regions. Growth was the sharpest for young adults aged 18 to 24, and actually for white young Americans. Young adults in the U.S. are less likely than those in most of Europe, however, to live in their parents' home. So, and let me see here. That was published. Okay, that was published in 2020. So that's a little old at this point. But the stats are still pretty similar. So, with that, let's get into some unexpected pros and cons of living with your parents. And Katie Trost, I know you probably got some to say based on that.
Oh, I will say Exhibit A. I don't always get the best spot in the house to Zoom from for meetings and so forth. Yeah, the hideous floral wallpaper, isn't it just lovely?
I love it.
Oh, okay, cool.
I love wallpaper.
All right, it's textured. That's, it's very 80s. But so long story short, living with my parents has been a little bit of a blessing and a curse. We love each other. It's great. I get free food, which is awesome. I kind of pay back. They aren't making me pay rent right now, which is very nice of them. So I kind of help with cleaning around the house.
You said they're not making you pay rent right now. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Just really nice of them. I've offered. So I do chores and stuff around the house to help out and do like basic maintenance and so forth. As for like the pros, I mean, again, free food. I don't always love what mom cooks, but like it's free, so it's great.
Katie, will she be listening to this podcast?
Yeah, we may have to edit that out.
She will not. No, she will not. And then, I've been able to cook too at home, which has been nice. I'm not very comfortable with the proteins because I just don't want to ruin a nice piece of beef. But I'm happy to say I think at this point I've mastered fish. So I can do it in a pan, I can do it in the oven, I can do it on the grill. I've got the free tier pyramid on that. In terms of cons that I'm experiencing, your parents are not perfect people. Like I think that there are a lot of parents out there that are great. And I would say, I'm biased, but I think my parents are great. They think of me the same way as they would when I was 15. And so if I leave to go do something or to go to, an activity that I've planned, they're like, where are you going? Mom, will you be back? Who are you with? And I'm like, I will update you when I'm going to be home because I live with you and I don't want to freak you out, if I'm home after 11. Because you guys might be asleep in the den because no, you're watching TV with your eyes closed. But
Uh-huh.
navigating that has been really interesting. So, my parents are slowly realizing, oh, she is an adult. She can do these things. But they can't help but still have that kid aspect because at the end of the day, I'm still technically, they think of me as their baby.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm gonna keep moving just for the sake of time because we're getting
yeah.
close to uh 40 minutes, I think, at this point. But my point actually was going to be the same as Katie. An unexpected con is that, yeah, you don't realize that your parents are used to seeing you in a very particular context, which is that of being their child. So it's hard for them, I think, to really see you as a full educated adult, that's living young adulthood until you like move out. It's just part of the trade-off. And I think too, and yeah, an unexpected con in the same sense is that you don't realize how much developing you have to really do until you're doing things on your own. Which is tough, and it's hard to really take the training wheels off. But I'll say an unexpected pro is that you just like flat out you get to spend more time with them too. Because when you do live on your own, and I live about an hour and a half from my parents, you have to really proactively make time to go do things with them, and it can be a bit of a challenge. So, do we move on to Graham?
Yes.
And
Pro.
Graham just moved out. Actually, I should note that Graham is now in his own
Yes.
apartment.
Yeah. I'm actually going to give a pro for living with them because it is something that is very relevant. And that is something a lot of capitalists can get along with, and that is money. Money is a great thing, especially if you can live there without paying rent. Once you start moving out on your own, you got bills, you got rent, you got to pay for food, you got to pay for utilities, you got to pay for insurance and all those things.
Pay
Make
for
the
internet
most.
that cuts out.
Yes, yeah, I'm paying for internet that I can't use because it is apartment Wi-Fi. It is not a good time. So while you're living with your parents, once you move out, those bills start coming and they don't stop coming. And they don't stop coming. Um, while you're living with your parents, build up as much cash as you can because after that opportunity it's going to be very hard to save up, so get some liquid assets, get some emergency funds,
Yeah.
save up as much as you can. If you can put that in a high yield savings account or some other way that makes your money make money, that's an opportunity that it's not going to be as easy to do in other times of life. So build up your cash pile, do the Scrooge McDuck, do whatever you have to, build up those assets.
Yeah. Yeah. Wise words. Gotta put your
just
money
to,
to good use.
yeah, just to tack on to that, like I did an entire financial analysis for myself, and yes, I'm trying to save up as much as possible. And I can tell you right now, after taxes, I am only spending about 30% of what I make.
Hmm.
I am really, which is tight. But at the end of the day, if I were to like expand that, it's harder to bring it back down to a smaller number after expanding what you're spending.
Yeah.
So I'm starting small on purpose and keeping it there until I feel comfortable
Yeah.
to
It's
expand it.
easy to pull a financial string, very difficult to push a financial string. And then any last words from Katie Childs on pros and cons?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I definitely think everyone touched on most of what I was going to say. I definitely think the major pro for me is developing a very beautiful adult relationship with my mom, because I live with my mom right now, and our relationship has grown just in the past 6 months since I moved back in, like exponentially. I don't. There is that con of living in your childhood home for sure, because I do feel like I'm trying to estrange myself from my childhood self while also like
Hmm.
living in the same room that I lived in when I was 8, and all this weird these weird dynamics that as like a creative and as a writer I'm like always thinking about, oh, how could I spin this into like an interesting thesis or something. I don't know, but yeah, the major pro for me is developing that adult relationship with my mom, and I definitely value that a lot, so I'm grateful quite a bit.
Yeah. Yep. Very difficult to manage the outer adult with the sort of inner child and vice versa.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it in terms of questions that I've got for today. Um, just want to say thanks to our wonderful guests, Katie and Katie, or Katie Squared. But I think maybe we'll title this episode Cam, Graham, and Katie Squared. I kind of think that would be funny. But we
Yeah.
appreciate their time. Katie Trost, I should also mention, lives on Eastern, so she had to make a time differential for the sake of being able to attend. So appreciate that. Another big thanks to my co-host Graeme, instrumental in setting this up, and always a joy to have on for these things. So big thanks to everyone for joining. We'll see you again in about 2 weeks with a couple new guests. We'll definitely be seeing the Katie's back on sometime in the coming months as well. So see you.
Thanks.
Bye.